welcome to Joseph's Model Railway and Toy Room. Thank you as always for joining me. Just a little bit of housekeeping. You don't need to like, follow or subscribe. I just put the videos out there where I can and have a holly jolly great time doing so. Well, here we are. We're going to have a really quick video today and it's a rather important one. We're going to be talking about, ta-da! Now, this particular ensemble here, so I like to categorize this as my Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars that I've been playing with since I was a little person. And this particular ensemble came to me brand new and is one of the first ever ones I ever received. Now this isn't my original one, but I decided to purchase another one to shoot this particular video with. And really what we're going to focus on today is the car itself. However, of course, it's a tremendous ensemble. We have a magnificent car and it's towing a fantastic caravan, and to be 100% honest, still looks as relevant and as current today as it did back in the 80s. For all of you purists, you will know there is some slight scale and sizing variations when it comes to some of these die-cast vehicles. And particularly in this case, if you enjoyed your Hot Wheels or Matchbox cars, and you may have had a few Majore vehicles, you'll notice that they're slightly bigger. In fact, they're on a scale that indeed is a 1:60 scale. Being a young child, this is far from our concerns because, as we're now going to see, it does still fit our application. I suppose a little bit of housekeeping regarding any of the Hot Wheels or Matchbox videos we're going to do. I want to just put one thing to bed now, and that is to do with vehicles as they are and cars. Because if we just go back 20 years ago, the most popular vehicle selling here in Australia was the family sedans of the Ford Falcons or Holden Commodores. Fast forward to when this video is being shot in the year 2023, and in Australia, it's not a car that wins the crown anymore. It is what is known as a 4x4 or SUV or a ute, and in which case the 4x4 ute, which is a Toyota Hilux, has now claimed the #1 selling vehicle in Australia for a few years now. It's a sign of the times, I guess. First of all, let me just mention this. Whenever anyone mentions the word car, for example, oh, he's bought a brand new car, or she's brought a brand new car, or would you like to go and take the car? Whenever someone uses the word car, the first image that I think of in my head of a vehicle has to be this particular vehicle here. And of course, we are referring to the marvelous VL Holden Commodore. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is this shape of car embodies everything a car should be. It's a beautiful sedan. It has all that futuristic styling which still looks as current then as it could be now. Of course, this car had appeared in the sort of 1988 or sort of heading toward the late 80s, and is a really, really interesting story for another day. But let's just appreciate when I think of the word car, this is a car as far as I know it. It's got the bonnet with an engine under it. It has a boot or a trunk in the back that you put your luggage and cargo. And then you obviously sit into what would be 2 rows with the front passengers and the rear passengers. 4 wheels and a spare one somewhere located on the vehicle, and you've got yourself something that has become pretty synonymous around the world. So why are we talking about this car? And what exactly makes this car so special? Well, it's a few things. I suppose the first thing is it was the first of my Hot Wheels or Matchboxes to feature a tow bar. And certainly where I grew up, tow bars are a pretty common thing to have because you're often going to have trailers attached. Could be indeed a caravan, or it could be your boat that you're taking off to go fishing. So having a tow bar and being able to connect various things to it when I'm playing along was a fantastic thing. And in their situation, their tow bar system was nice and simple, but they did also add a little piece of plastic here that would allow you to secure and lock the load on. And even if you were negotiating some rather bumpy carpet, nothing was going to come apart there. So fantastic stuff there. Of course, as we grow up, we become more aware of the tow bar because there's nothing quite worse than walking around the back of a car at top speed and bashing the lower part of your leg into a tow bar. But the most important thing, and probably from what you can see at this distance, is it looks like a reasonably nice, simple blue car, of which it is. However, from this particular distance and angle, as I turn it around from the front or the back, this particular shape and the color scheme they've used represents so many different types of cars that have become available. So I'd just like to share a few of them with you now, and you can see what I mean. For me, one of the biggest advancements of the time, remember, we're into the early 80s at this point, was the fact that they've chosen to go with a design that featured the sort of clear, translucent headlights, which was certainly a big deal. And even to now, I only have a handful of cars that feature that. In fact, again, coming from the stables of the Maggiore family, there was I have a red Mustang, I know there were different colors of it, that also featured it. It had an opening series of doors or back, doesn't matter. We'll come back to that another day. But this car, certainly from Australia, certainly reminded me of, similar to my uncle's car, who actually had a Holden Chimera. However, going to the hardware store the other day, I believe I saw a VB or VC Commodore in a similar shade. And again, from a distance, the shape started to look very much like it could represent any type of car. And that was always a big thing about this. Let's go and have a slightly closer look at this thing. Okay, this looks a little more practical now, doesn't it? Now, let's take this particular type of roadway carpet that we're using here. Again, it's just giving you a bit of a conceptual idea of what it is, but when we certainly bring our marvelous combination across the lines, it does fit reasonably. There's not a lot of things. These roadways are a bit narrower than some of the other mats that we have, but it does fit, and I guess that's the important thing. Remember, the Hot Wheels Matchboxes are just a fraction bit smaller, so they fit even better. But look, it's a magnificent ensemble here, and it always has been one of my favorites. And I guess one of the key features I really did love about the car, just like what you have in real life, is the tremendous amount of play in this. Let's not let those trees fall down. The tremendous amount of play we get in the suspension. It really did drive and play like a real vehicle. And I always thought that was absolutely fantastic. Again, we've got the tow bar, to which I had connected various other trailers I had connected over the time. Let's just bring that in for a bit of a head-on view here at the moment, if you like. And again, it's just so iconic that at the time, there was just literally, we would see so many of these black plastic grills on cars and or bumpers. Again, with the headlight combination, it was, we'll let our trees fall down now, and we can talk about these wonderful headlights, which of course, I won't use the word European, but would come away a lot from. For years and still to this date, the traditional 7-inch round headlight combination is still seen today. But here we've taken the approach of where we could mount the traditional H4 high-low headlight globe into a more angular looking housing, and really I think that's just fantastic. So it's always been one of my favorites. Now in this situation, they've got a aerodynamic wing on the top, which of course in real life would allow the wind to pass over the top of the Caravan to give a more streamlined approach. I recall mine being white. I did lose it at an early time, and as a result, there was just a tiny little square hole in the top of the roof, which I never really worried too much about. But to actually have found this car and the Caravan itself in such splendid condition is fantastic. Unfortunately, there is no box. Again, if we look at the rear of the vehicle, the tail light cluster that had been used, again, a very common sight in a lot of vehicles of this era. Of course, these days it's all gone LED, and they're shaping the lights into both the trunk and or tailgate section and creating a multitude of complications when traditionally just one light globe was sufficient for each application. A light globe, 2 light globes for your reverse, 2 for brake, in some cases 4, and 2 or 4 for tail light, 1 for indicator left, 1 for indicator right, and again 1 or 2 lights to illuminate the number plate. So very much, it really is a fantastic vehicle. Our petrol cap opening here, it really is something that anyone that knows what a car is, this embodies every single component you would know and see on the car, including the fact that they left the dash on this particular one while the rest of the interior trim is white. The dash is actually in a beautiful black, so you've got that black steering wheel, which 99% of all of these had black steering wheels, no matter what type of car you may have been driving at the time. And it was extremely generic as well. I mean, it's not emblazoned with a whole bunch of badges. Even the number plate section is kept exceptionally neutral. Obviously, we've got our window washer jet here. There is no complication. We certainly don't have Renaults in Australia, although now they do have them. But certainly back in the time, it certainly wasn't a car you'd see in Australia. But somehow they took what was a very generic type of vehicle, whether it be from General Motors or Ford or whoever at the time, and they've said, you know what? Let's make this a model car and it will appeal worldwide. And that is exactly what we have seen here. And I always thought the color that was chosen was really bang on. Well, that's now going to conclude yet another video. Again, it is a bit of a short one, and I'd like to thank you so much for joining me, girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we are going to be returning to the model railway shortly, as I'm about to be finishing up our forestry area, and we're going to be talking about the signal box and a few other little surprises. But again, it's Joseph's Model Railway and Toy Room, so of course we're going to see a bit of everything in this particular channel. So don't despair if you've missed out on something. We'll always be coming back and returning to different scenarios as we carry on. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining me. We'll see you next time. Toodles!